Hello and welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. My name is Kelly and I'm a former wedding planner and blogger, and I'm obsessed with weddings. If you're planning a wedding in Ireland, you're in the right place. You're going to learn the tried and tested methods to planning your dream wedding without the added stress. Think of this as your one-stop shop for everything to do with planning your wedding in Ireland, with me, your new wedding planning bestie, and a cup of tea. This is Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Well, hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast. Today, we're talking all about how to nail your wedding stationery timeline. So we're going to talk about things like when to order your stationery, when your guests need to receive the stationery, when you should expect to be collecting your RSVPs, and then, of course, a couple of things that involve stationery after the wedding as well. But now, before we get started, it's really helpful to know that your wedding stationery is more than just paper. It's actually a reflection of you, your relationship, and the celebration that you are planning. And so we're not talking about just like a little old invitation, but really this is the culmination of your plans. This is the teaser of what your guests are going to experience, and it's really important. Now, before we get stuck in, I have some Wedding Wednesdays news for you. We've been having our weekly episodes and we've had lots of incredible guests on the podcast. We've had loads of good questions from you guys, and we've got hundreds and hundreds of episodes to listen to. In fact, today's episode is 139. And so there are 138 other episodes to listen to. And because we know we've got such good content, we're going to be scaling down. And instead of having a weekly episode, we're going to have a monthly episode. And in the weeks between the monthly episodes, there will be loads of other content that we've already recorded that you can go back and listen to. So if you are newly engaged and you are new to the podcast, I guarantee you still have 138 other episodes to listen to. And so I'm always available for questions. And so if you're trying to find something and you're not sure where it is, you can always send me a message on Instagram. We're at Weddings Online, and I'll help you find an episode if you're trying to find an answer to a specific question and you just want to listen to one of the podcast episodes. The other option is for you to just make your way through them from start to finish. But this is the first episode of our monthly Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online series, and so it'll be the first Wednesday of every month, so it'll be easy for you to remember. It'll still be at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday, and I can't wait to carry on giving you good content, answering your wedding planning questions. And if you do have questions, please get in touch because I'd love to hear from you. But let's get back into wedding stationery timelines. Now, we need to discuss why wedding stationery is so important. Now, when your guests receive a piece of wedding stationery, this is the hint of the wedding celebration that you are planning. This is like the teaser for them of your theme. It's going to give obviously you're going to be giving them actual information that they need. You know, when they get an invitation, they're going to find out the day and the time and the location, and of course all those really critical pieces of information. But you're also going to be giving them teasers and hints about the kind of celebration you're planning. This is where they get to find out how formal or informal the wedding is going to be. And so it really does give you a chance to inject a little personality, give some little hints about what you're planning, and you can have some fun with it. But the real question is, when should you actually get started on all of this? And today we're going to go into some detail about the specific timeline to help you nail things so that you don't get stressed, but you know exactly which pieces of stationery need to be thought about at which points. So why don't we go with the step-by-step wedding stationery timeline? And first up is 12 months before the wedding day. Now, before we even get there, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I already have less than 12 months to go. Don't worry, we can do this. But up to 12 months before the day is normally a good time to think about your save the dates. You might be thinking, that's really early. And for some couples, 12 months out is very, very early. But if you're planning a wedding that involves travel, so if most of your guests are going to be traveling to another part of the country, or maybe you're having a destination wedding and you've got lots of people traveling from all over the world, or whatever it might be, the more time that you can give people, the better. It just means that they know the dates, even if they don't necessarily know the specific venue, but they may just know the kind of general location, which county you're getting married in, for example. It gives them information and they'll know if they can take time off work, they'll know if they can get childcare or they need to book flights, whatever it is that they need. Sending out those save the dates around 12 months before does help people with the planning. Now, to put your mind at rest, save the dates don't have to be overly formal. You could do something a little bit casual or creative. It could be something digital if you would like. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you go as casual as just popping everybody a text, but somewhere between that and a formal save the date, find what works for you. But the idea here is you just want to make sure that people know the date and the location so that they can get the date in their diaries. And at that point, if anybody already knows that they can't make it, for example, if somebody knows that they will be out of the country for work or, they've got a trip planned or they are going to another wedding or whatever it is, if there's some unmovable date and they know then and there that they can't go, they'll let you know. But most people will start to RSVP when they get the official invitation. Now, the next step is 9 to 12 months before the big day. And this is when you need to be thinking about your wedding invitations. So your save the dates will be out. So the next big stationery task is the invitation. So you want to start thinking about designing and ordering your invitations 9 to 12 months before the wedding day. So this is going to give you time to think about the design. You'll be able to think about the paper and any kind of customizing and personalizing that you would like to do. You can work with a designer who's going to help you to bring your wedding theme into your stationery. You want to make sure that if you've got bold colors in the stationery, that really helps you to, really convey the theme. So if you're going for something kind of Bridgerton-y with pastel colors in springtime, and that's what you're thinking for your decor and flowers on the day, it's always a good idea to incorporate that into your stationery as well as a hint of what's to come. A top tip is to keep in mind that shipping can sometimes take a little bit of time. And so just add a bit of wiggle room into your plans. You don't want to be rushing things. Now, the next step is 6 to 8 weeks before the wedding. So we're skipping from 9 to 12 months before to 6 to 8 weeks. And that is when your RSVPs should start coming in. You always want to give yourself enough time to gather RSVPs so that if people don't let you know if they're coming or not, you can chase them. You've got time to do so, and you've got time to then gather all the information about who's coming so that you've got a final head count. You can tell your caterer, you can tell any supplier who's creating something per person, you can give them that information. So it could be place cards, it could be wedding favors with people's names or whatever it is. Having those RSVPs 6 to 8 weeks before the day means that you've got time to use that information to pull together the final bits for your wedding. Now, fast forward to 3 to 4 weeks before the big day, and you'll have some other stationery, and we like to call this wedding day stationery. Now, of course, everything you do is for your wedding day, but some things will be sent out, like wedding invitations and save the dates will be sent out before the wedding day. But this is the type of stationery that's going to be used on the day. Things like your mass booklets, place cards, menus, and signs that you may have around the venue. Could be a welcome sign as people come into your ceremony location or into the reception area. Those are all things that are like your day of wedding stationery requirements. So about 3 to 4 weeks before, that's when you want to start gathering all of that. So I recommend working with the same stationery designer who's going to be doing the invitations and the save the dates. It just means that there's a cohesive look across the board, and you can have that person help you to bring in elements from your wedding day, such as the flowers or the colors or pretty fonts that you want to use to help convey how formal or informal your wedding is going to be. Now, we're going to move on to the post-wedding stationery. So as part of your timeline, when it comes to wedding stationery, and if you want to nail the timeline, the things don't end just because the wedding day has come and gone. There will be a couple of things you need to think about, and the biggest one is your thank you cards. This is a great opportunity to thank your guests for being at the day, to thank them for the gifts that they've given you. You'll have lots of people who have probably traveled and made sacrifices to be at your wedding day, and you want to take a moment moment to really thank them for their contribution to that day, but also the contribution that they've made to your relationship, to your love story, and just to your lives in general. And so a wedding thank you card is incredibly important. Etiquette suggests that 1 to 2 months after the big day is an ideal time to send out your thank you cards. And so we recommend getting that done as soon as you can. Express your gratitude. Let people know what you're using the gifts for. If somebody's given you a gift, let them know that you're using it. Find a way to personalize your thank you card by including something in there. Like, oh, thank you so much for that amazing barbecue you gave us. We've been using it in the summer, or whatever it is. Just find a way to make it a little bit more personal. Now we're going to end with some top tips for staying on track to really nail your wedding stationery timeline. So the first is to start early. So I know that we've said save the dates around 12 months before the big day. It just gives you a lot of time to think about the information you want to communicate, the look that you want to go for, and it helps to plan around possible delays, like with shipping or, with you posting things to people or hand delivering things to people. If you start early, you're giving yourself enough time so that you're not going to be stressed and panicked about getting information out to people. The next thing is to be organized. Now, this is a tip that we give for pretty much everything. If you can be as organized as possible, you're not going to stress, you're not going to panic because you'll know that you're on top of things. So having some kind of a digital file or a binder of some sorts, it's really helpful for all your wedding planning needs. But when it comes to stationery, it's just a great way to keep all the important details in one place so you know who you're getting stationery from, what information's being confirmed, what you've paid for. Everything's in one place. Number 3, consider local designers. So when it comes to things like shipping delays, it's often when you're dealing with overseas companies that you're printing things with and they're sending you things and you're waiting around. I always recommend working with a local designer. I'm a big fan of supporting local Irish businesses however you can, and especially when it comes to weddings. We've spoken about this in great detail in the podcast, that it's a really good way to pursue eco-friendly practices. It's a good way to support people who are like hardworking Irish citizens who live nearby. There's so many reasons to support your local stationery designers. And so I can't say it enough that the local Irish stationery designers are really, really talented. And so if you can work with one of them, go for it. You'll be so thankful that you have. And an added bonus is that if you're working with somebody local, they'll be able to help you find ways to incorporate something from your region into the stationery if that's something you'd really like to do. And then the final step is don't overcomplicate things. Of course, you want to have a fun themed stationery set. You want things to feel customized and personalized, but try not to get bogged down by having too many things. It's possible to have an RSVP card, or you can have an extra insert that has a map on it or a link to your website, whatever it is. All of those things are really helpful, but try not to get bogged down by having one of everything. If it's too stressful, it's just going to cause chaos. And I want to give you another reminder that with your wedding stationery, it's not just paper. This is the reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of your relationship, your love story, and of course the wedding celebration that you are planning for your guests to come and join you at. So you want to make sure that you enjoy the process. Of course, this is an admin-y wedding task, but it's also something really fun. And so make sure you enjoy it. Well, I will look forward to seeing you next month at Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online, with our first episode of the month coming up in March. But thank you for listening today. The Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast is produced by me, Kelly, and mixed, mastered, and edited by Glenn Hartman. For more wedding planning tips, advice, checklists, and more, visit weddingsonline.ie.